my internet, but it looks like it's a little unstable. It's a little unstable, but as I was saying, I'm fairly new to building bridges, and I work with Daisy. So Daisy is my immediate supervisor. So this is my first time meeting Marta, but Maggie, you and I. um, so um, so I'm really happy to be here, and obviously, like Daisy mentioned, we've been trained, and we're here to support Yolanda and Jasmine as well. So I'm very happy to meet everyone and have this training today. So
Thank you. Maggie, would you like to go next?
Yes, so I am a new resource parent myself. I started in June of this year with my first placement and then had my second placement in July. And we are here in Pomona, and we've had the wonderful help of both Taylor, and then we have Miriam, and we also work closely with Leona from the FFA and also Jasmine. And they've been helping me tremendously with my girls, and most recently my 14-year-old. So I have a 14-year-old and a well, now she just turned 15, actually. So I have a 15-year-old and now an 18-year-old. They both just had birthdays in October. And so, and my 15-year-old is struggling a lot with substance abuse and most recently skipping school. And so, and just kind of, just kind of walking the right walk. And so I'm just really excited about these trainings. And I've also just over the past few weeks have been engaging the foster parent college portal, and that has been tremendously helpful in me understanding the kind of the mind of a possible substance exposed fetus, and also just a child, being taken from home and being placed in care, just kind of how their brain is wired. And that has helped tremendously with my patience with her. And then also just taking the right approach with her as far as the trauma-informed parenting goes. So I'm just so helpful for all the resources and for this class, and just, for Miriam and Leona, just because I think my head would be in the moon by now with that chaos without them.
Yeah, thank you so much for sharing that, Maggie. Yeah, it's a lot to think about, right? Like, to be a resource parent for this population, a lot to consider. So we definitely want to do our best and trying to provide support and education as best we can so that we can help influence the future of the children, right? Which is most important. Thank you so much, Maggie, for sharing. All right, Marta and your husband, would you please introduce yourselves?
Yes, hi. So this is Marta and Pedro. We just barely started with the fostering. We got placed with a 3-year-old little girl and a 3-year-old boy and a 3-year-old girl, a 4-year-old girl, in September. So this is very, very new to us. First time parents too. We are also from Pomona. It's been it's been an adventure. At times it's been, to say, overwhelming. Not knowing if we're handling certain situations the correct way. Our 4-year-old girl, she has a lot of anger. So she deals with a lot of anger situations, a lot of yelling, a lot of screaming, a lot of crying. When she gets upset, throwing, kicking. So it's kind of hard to know what to do, exactly what to do and how to handle it, especially, like I said, since we could say first-time parents. We've been in a marriage we've known each other for 27 years. But we wanted children in our lives, so we chose to do this fostering, to give the children, they need the opportunity to be loved. And it's unfortunate that they have to go through whatever it is that they go through, and seeing it with their own eyes. And at times it could be overwhelming just to see them, how they act, and the stuff they say, especially because it's not as if having your own children, especially when they've been placed in different homes at the age that they are. So we're just hoping to get as much help as we can. We have had some difficulties, but thanks that Building Bridges has been helping us out. We have been struggling to get them into school. So we know that that's part of their structure that they do need. But thank God that right now we have a lot of help
From the county.
from the county, from Building Bridges, helping us out. So we're hopefully and thankfully, hopefully by the end of this week or next week, they'll be attending school now. So that'll be a little bit of a relief. That way we can actually plan our days with these children. But it's been an adventure. It's loving. It can be overwhelming. But we're in for the ride. So this is what we chose to do. So now we just want to try and get as much help as possible to help us deal with these situations.
Thank you. Pedro, would you like to share anything?
My name is Pedro. This is like how Martha was saying, this is our first time, so we're here to try to learn as much as we can, you know, since it's our first time. And like how Martha said, it's her first time, you know, with kids living in our house. We've been in this house. We got this house 22 years ago, and we have a lot of space here. It's just been me and her parents that live here also. And yeah, it's fun with these kids. We have a good time. It's just a little struggles here and there that we have that me and Martha need help, you know, learning basically to how to handle it right in a way, you know, since we've never had kids in our life. So yeah.
Oh, thank you so
Uh-huh.
much for sharing that. Welcome to parenthood. It's exactly like that, right? Like you're not always sure if the thing that you're doing is the right thing, but as long as you're asking the question, like, is this the right thing? I think you're on the right track. It is really hard. It's really rewarding and loving, but it's also very challenging and overwhelming, exactly like you said, Martha. So if you're mindful to ask those questions, it's perfect. You're doing exactly what you're supposed to be. I'm grateful to have you here. So what I'll do is I'm going to share my screen and we'll get started on this session and hopefully be educational and have some fun. Okay. So let me share my screen. Oh, and by the way, just so you know, I'm recording the session for certification purposes, right? Where we would like to be certified in this program, which is there's a lot of research to show its effectiveness. And so we're wanting to implement it in this agency. And one of the requirements would be that we show that we're teaching this properly. So it requires that I record, and I hope that's okay with everyone.
That's fine.
Yes.
Yes.
All right, so let's get started. All right, so this is going to be session 2, setting expectations. This quote here says, catching kids being good, praising them, and following through with rewards and other forms of positive reinforcement are good ways to improve behavior. So that's a lot of what we're going to be talking about. Is you're right, that we are going to encounter a lot of challenging behavior. So there's many ways to deal with them. What we're going to talk about today is praising them, praising that positive behavior that we want to see grow and expand further. All right, some reminders for etiquette reminders, like virtual or electronic reminders. Keep your camera on, please. Well, we're a small space, so I wouldn't worry too much about muting yourselves. If you'd have a question, you know, just say, you know, I have a question, and go ahead. All right, so it's going to be more informal. You could also use the chat box if you like. This is monitored. Anonymity may not be granted. It just depends. And again, like I said, we're being recorded, so just be mindful of that. You can use a chat box for comments, questions, or message me however you would like is absolutely fine. optimal screen layout. Martha and Pedro, you're fine. I can see both of you, so no worries. This is probably different people, but it's just an example. All right, so welcome back. Which sessions have you reviewed so far with Jasmine and Yoli?
This is our first
Our
one.
first
What about you, Maggie?
Okay, yeah, I did part one where we were talking about um, also new placement for children, and how, like, what their thoughts are, and how to deal with behaviors whenever they are first placed, and just kind of understanding the trauma behind that, but behind leaving family, leaving, siblings, and of course, their parents, and starting a whole new school, etc. Also being mindful of the I don't know if imaginary was the right word, but the baggage that you can't see. So there's baggage, that's very obvious whenever, but there's some baggage that, they come unseen, and we have to be mindful that they all come in different shapes and sizes and different weights as well. And so, and it also may take time to reveal the types of things that, they are carrying around with them, but we have to be mindful that although they come to us with just, one little suitcase or one little bag, that they have several ones we cannot see because of the life that they've led before coming to be with us.
Oh, that was perfectly summarized. Thank you so much. Yeah, so you talked about the invisible suitcase. Yeah, so basically it's exactly that, right? That children are coming with their own challenges, and they could be unique. There might be some similarities among children in foster care, but do you remember some of the invisible suitcase, like some of the baggage that some of these kids are carrying that you guys discussed in session 1?
I know one that sticks out to me is like raising of the voice, how some kids will kind of tense up or kind of twitch and tremor because even though you may not be like actually like you're not attacking them, but maybe your voice is elevated, that to them that can mean something completely different, meaning they may be getting a beating or they may not eat, something like that. So just like their physical reactions to maybe the environment we're giving them.
Yeah. Right. Thank you. Yeah, they're coming with their own story of like, I'm not worthy, or being sensitive to certain noises or sounds, or their own relationships with food. So being mindful that they have their own experiences that are shaping them, and it's not necessarily and always about us. It's about what they're telling themselves, right? This work is evidence-based, meaning that there's a ton of research that indicates what we're going to teach you is effective. They did all this research and figured out this is what's helpful, this is what's not, this is what works most, this is what works least. And they put this training together. So everything we're teaching is proven by research to be effective. The correlation between relationships and outcomes, I think you discussed that in session 1, right? Building relationships can be very effective for our children. So before we try to correct them, right? Sometimes it's really important that we really build that relationship. We talked about the past history of trauma for session 1, uncooperative behavior from that ABC model. So it would be great for Marta and Pedro for you to take that session 1 training, and we'll talk about that with Yoli and Jasmine when we can get you in that. So you can understand the ABC model. It's the antecedents, like the behaviors that come before can impact the current behavior, and then that can lead to a consequence. So there's always something that happened before that will impact current behavior, and then depending on the choice, there's always a consequence. Consequence can be positive or negative. It just depends on the choice that we make for our behavior. And then also how to track behavior to figure out what's actually going on with the child. So this is a review of session 1. Sound familiar, right, Maggie? Great. Anything you'd like to add, Miriam?
Nothing.
All right, so, oops. All right, so the agenda for today. So this is kind of some of the things that we will be reviewing. We want to understand the significance of using praise and incentives or like rewards to help guide children. We'll talk about daily check-ins. Miriam will cover that. How do we build relationship through checking in with a child? Identify effective versus ineffective instructions, like when we're trying to tell a child, hey, do your homework, what is a more effective way to have that happen? And understand the importance of establishing and maintaining a clear set of house rules. Like, how do we come to an understanding with our children who are in foster care, who have been in various homes, who have trauma history, to come up with a set of rules that can really help us all like function well and get that desired behavior. Any questions about that? Okay. All right, so first we'll do a little bit of an icebreaker. So we'll do something, I have two little icebreakers that I'd like to do. So first we'd start with a little bit of mindfulness. Are you all familiar with mindfulness?
Like, is that like checking in with yourself or?
Yeah, pretty much. It's coming into the present moment, right? And there's various ways to do this. We'll do a simple one today, but this is very helpful also for our children, right? There's all this research about how mindfulness and meditation is really helpful. So you can do just a few minutes, and I'll give you an example of one today. And this is how we'll start, just so you can use it for yourself, and then you can engage in this practice with the children as well. Mindfulness is how do we come into this present moment, instead of like worrying so much about the past. Oh, I shouldn't have done that. Why did I do this? Why did that happen? Or worrying about the future. I need to do this, that, the other. I'm stressed, right? So we'll do a few minutes of mindfulness activity, and then we'll do another quick little icebreaker, okay? So just get comfortable in your chair. You don't want to cross your legs or anything. Just have them flat on the floor. You can have your hands on your lap, something really simple. You don't want to tense your muscles in any way. So if you cross your legs, you're tensing your muscles and keeping your legs crossed. So just simple. And then what we're going to do, this one's called 4-7-8 mindfulness activity. So you're going to breathe, take a deep breath in for 4 seconds. You'll hold it for 7, and then you'll breathe out slowly for 8 seconds. So the breathing out is longer. Okay. So I'll lead you into it. I'll talk a little bit through it, and then I'll end it in a few minutes. Okay. So we'll start with taking like 3 deep breaths, and toward the third one, whenever you're ready, you'll close your eyes. And when you're ready, you'll begin that 4-7-8 practice, okay? You'll breathe in for 4 seconds, take a nice deep breath. You'll hold it for 7 seconds. And you'll let the breath out for 8 seconds slowly. If you lose count, if you mess up, no big deal. Just keep going. If your mind wanders, that's okay, no judgment. Just come back to your breath. know it's hard to stay in it. It's okay, just struggle and stay in it. Do at least 2 more, 4, 7, 8 deep breaths. And then when you're ready, you'll take 3 breaths and slowly come back and open your eyes. If you'd like, you can set an intention for this training or for the day. I would like to absorb as much information as I can. I would like to have a peaceful day. All right. That was a quick, short meditation, and there's many different kinds. And I'll work with Miriam, and we'll work on expanding some of these skills with our kids to help us come into the present, come into ourselves, right? Like Maggie was saying. All right. The other fun icebreaker, Miriam came up with some fun questions that I will put in the chat box and read them to you just so you could see them. Okay. You don't have to write them down or anything. We'll just share a little bit about ourselves before we get going. Okay. Oops. So here are the questions. One is, what book would you recommend? Like, do you have a favorite book that you would like to share? What is something totally useless that you still have memorized? Where would you go in a zombie apocalypse? Do you have any superstitions? And tell us one interesting thing about you, okay? And we'll all kind of share. All right. Anyone like to go first? Any book recommendations? That's number for the first one.
I'll go first. Okay, for the book recommendation, I would say Atlas of the Heart by Brene Brown. It's a beautiful book. So I love it. I've read it 2 times already. I think I might go for a 3rd time. It's just so good. And I love Brene Brown. So the Atlas of the Heart.
She's amazing. I really like her. She does a lot of research about vulnerability and shame, and she has some amazing books. I haven't heard of that one, so thank you. Anyone else have a book they'd like to share or recommend? Brother, I can't hear you. I think you guys are on mute, maybe.
Okay.
I'm gonna be honest, I don't really read books, but I do read a lot of books from work and the work that I do. I work in a wastewater collection, so I know that nobody here is in that field, but
Or how about a movie? A movie you'd like to recommend? It could be either or.
what was that?
Or a movie.
Oh, a movie? Oh, okay. Uh, I really like the actor Denzel Washington. He's a lot of his movies I recommend. Which movie?
Do you have a
I
favorite?
really like.
I would say the most recent one that I've seen is Freedom of Speech.
Okay, I haven't seen
Is
that.
that the name of it?
No.
It's about the children trafficking.
Yeah.
A speech of something freedom. Oh my God, I can't remember the name. But
Sound of
there's
Freedom.
Sound of Freedom.
Sound of
Yeah,
Freedom.
that one.
Sound of Freedom.
That was really good.
Yeah,
That's a very
yeah,
it's very
you're
good
right.
movie. I mean, I know that stuff's going around and it's always been around, but it opened up my eyes when I actually saw the movie. It's a very interesting movie. A book that I've read that I can still remember now. It's I believe it's called A Boy Called It.
Oh,
Oh,
Yeah, that one. That one's a very good movie because it tells you everything that him as an adult is going back and writing his whole life story of when he was a kid and how he was abused and it's a very good movie. It's a very good. I mean, I'm sorry, book to read.
yeah.
And I know there's a second part to it. But to me, the first one was very good.
thank you. That one's tough. Any books, Maggie?
Okay, I have two. The first one, I haven't started the first one, that's why I'm going to start with it. It's called It Starts With Us, and it's just a book about getting rid of like generational issues. Like, for example, like my parents, like my dad's from Ghana, Africa, my mom's from Puerto Rico, and both of them grew up with corporal punishment. And so that's how we were raised. And so I knew my whole life that I wouldn't do that type of like um I wasn't going to do the whole spanking thing. I knew that words was more important, but I know that there's more to that as far as generational no parenting techniques. Like my dad wasn't very like open with us, but then my mom was trying to play all parties, mom, dad, you know, and everything. So I'm just really interested to dig into that book and see what I'm missing maybe. And then another book that I've only just begun, it's called Boundaries. And so I've my whole life had a hard time setting boundaries with partners, with, you know, boyfriends, and with even friends sometimes. And I'm 36 now, and I'm a lot better at setting boundaries because boundaries are healthy. They're there to protect us. And so, but I think that's going to be an everyday effort for me my whole life. And so I think that book is going to also help me maintain keeping boundaries. And also having these girls has helped me a lot with boundaries because it's just like a life without boundaries is chaos. So
Well said. I would probably recommend, there's a lot of books that I really like. But just because it also goes with this training, The Body Keeps the Score by Dr. Vanderkolk. It's like separated into 3 sections of what trauma is, how trauma impacts the body and the brain, and then evidence-based practice interventions that help heal the trauma on every level, the brain, the body, mentally, emotionally. So that book was really, really great, informative. All right. Something totally useless you have memorized.
lyrics to a Spanish song that I used to sing when I was a kid. I just the other day it was coming to my head and I was just singing the first 2 lines, just the first 2 lines. I have it completely memorized. Like I just listened to the song yesterday and I haven't heard it, I want to say, in over 15 years. And I was just like, where is that coming from? Why is it popping in my head right now? Completely useless. I don't use it for anything, but it's embedded.
That's funny. Anyone else? I can't think of anything that I have memorized, actually.
I was gonna say the same thing as Maggie. I was gonna say just like a childhood song that I'm just like I haven't heard in a long time, but it's there, you know. And I think I taught my son the song too, so it's gonna be embedded in his mind too.
Sweet.
Sure, I guess I would say probably if we're talking about when we're kids, I mean, I would say like noises, like I used to help my dad cut the grass, hearing the lawnmower. I guess I don't know, that's useless, just hearing the sound of but it comes in my mind, you know.
Yeah.
So I will say that, I guess. I don't know. I don't know if that's even.
It's like you're back there, right? Like you're back in that
Yeah,
experience.
yeah.
Yeah. Like you're a little boy again. It's interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Me, I can't really. Mm,
It's really hard because sometimes it doesn't come in your mind until it happens, you know, until you
Yeah.
hear it or you see it, you're like, oh, wait, that's,
Yeah.
okay.
That's useless.
Yeah. Yeah,
Right.
that's usually okay.
Yeah, that is so true. All right. Zombie apocalypse, where would you go?
oh, my family. Hoping my family is all around and all in one spot and just be with the family.
Yeah. Yeah. Maggie's like, yes.
Yes, I would get out of the city. My family's in the Midwest, so I would head out to the country and go find some forest.
I think that's the best. I mean, probably everybody's mind would be that. Hopefully you're around the loved ones, you know?
Mhm.
That's what I could think too.
Very nice. Miriam?
I kept thinking, Costco. I'm like, when I get you never know, I'm gonna get hungry. So
Costco, yeah.
You need food.
yeah.
Very
Yeah.
practical. Very practical. I was thinking like the Caribbean.
Oh, yeah.
Ay, ay, ay. Okay. Any superstitions?
Well, I think it's just being a kid, everything that we were told as a kid. A lot of the superstitions that our parents, our grandparents had. So it's throughout the years, it stays with us. Even though we say, nah, it's not true, but it still, it follows you. So,
One that you
and
remember?
as a grown-up, same, you know, like karma, you know, the little sayings, what goes around comes around. Don't do, what is it like? Don't do bad to others if you don't want it done to yourself.
Right.
Little phrases like that. And then just growing up with the parents, the grandparents, they're superstitious.
Also, when I'm watching sports, I'll be, oh,
Yeah.
I gotta put something in the refrigerator so that the score stays on. Something like that.
Oh my God.
Oh yeah, I can't watch it.
early.
I can't watch it because they're gonna lose if I watch the game. I do that a lot.
Does it work?
Yeah, no. Not all the time.
Sometimes.
Yeah, sometimes.
All right. Maggie, Miriam?
I mean, I don't know if it's a superstition because I think they're coming out with evidence, but like I think I am Christian and I believe in God, but I also believe that there's a possibility there could be aliens out there. So, and now all of a sudden they're coming up with evidence. I don't know. I try not to read too much about it because it's like a deep dive and you'll see me next week still talking about aliens. So, but yeah.
Yeah, it's a whole other training.
Yeah.
All right, Miriam?
I think a superstition for me, that I've thought over the years is one that my grandma would tell me. She would tell me not to eat from, like if we were cooking food and we had like a pan full of like, you know, maybe like chicken or something, not to eat from the cooking pan because I would never get married. And now I'm like, I think I ate from the pan because
I know I
I'm still
ate
not
from the
married.
pan.
So I'm like, thanks, Grandma.
No way.
Oh, that explains everything. Thank you, Grandma.
Oh my goodness. Okay, the one that I thought of, two, one I don't believe, the other one I do. The one I believe is I was told never put your purse on the floor because it'll drain your money. So I do not put my purse on the floor. And the other one that I don't believe is like, you know, when there's babies around, they would say, you have to touch the baby o si no le das ojo, which
Yeah.
is like you give them like some like bad energy or some like a condition or disease or something. I don't know what ojo is, but so then I always like if I see a baby, I touch it. I'm like, sorry, Mom, I'm gonna have to touch the baby.
You have to.
Yeah.
All right, last one. Tell us one interesting thing about you.
I feel like I stopped being interesting. No, I'm kidding. I used to play a lot of not a lot of sports. I used to play tennis. I don't get to play it very often. I used to play a lot of instruments, in band and stuff. I don't play them anymore. What's interesting? Oh, I guess it's interesting that I'm here now, a California resident for 10 years. This October was my 10-year anniversary. I moved here from Illinois all by myself because I could not stand the cold weather. I had one last horrible winter there, and I said to myself, I will not do one more winter here. And I didn't. I took off and came here right before they went through their first polar vortex. So I came here October. By December, they were all crying about a polar vortex. And I was like, thank you, Lord. That was the best decision I ever made. And I've been here ever since. And I love California. I know it's expensive, but I'll pay for it because I can't handle the cold weather.
Yeah, worth it.
Yes.
I guess I could say that my best friend that I met in high school, my mom and his mom knew each other in Mexico. They were friends in Mexico, and they both moved here in the United States, not knowing where. They went in separate areas, and then me as her boy and Cecilia and her boy, we met in high school. And one day I was playing basketball at his house, and Cecilia is her name. She said, "Oh, in Spanish, what's your name? And your last name, your last name." I said, "My name is Escobedo." She said, "And your mom's name?" I said, "Maria Luisa Plasencia Escobedo." And I knew a Maria Luisa Plasencia in Mexico. I said, "Oh, okay." I was like, whatever, right? Okay. And then she said, "Can you give me your number?" And my parents always told us not to give our numbers to anybody, and this was back then. So I said, "No, I can't give you my number." So she started laughing. She said, "Okay, I'll give you my number and tell her to call me." I said, "Okay." So she gave me her number, and yeah, they were friends, really good friends in Mexico. And me and my friend were like, "What?" They knew each other in Mexico.
Wow.
That's something,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow.
That's cool.
Small world.
Yeah.
And then so the other interesting part
Yeah.
is so me and him grew up in the same city.
Mhm.
We grew up in Baldwin Park.
Mhm.
In 92, I moved to Pomona with my parents. He moved in Chino Hills in 92. We both started working for the same company, and we didn't know. So one day out of nowhere, we're having a conversation talking about our childhood, high school, this and that. So we started naming a couple, the junior high, the high school, we started naming a couple friends. Well, it turned out that his friends were my friends' brothers.
Yeah.
And then his brothers and sisters knew some of my relatives.
Oh, wow.
So it was like a whole reunion kind of thing. And we never knew.
Yeah, we didn't know each other. I didn't know who she was.
So now that we're married and everything, everybody crossed paths.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Back in high school. So it was like a big high school reunion for everybody without us even knowing.
Yeah.
So it's I don't know. I guess that's one thing that we say is destiny.
Mm-hmm.
Small world, and here we are, 27 years.
I
Wow.
love that.
Congratulations. That's a really
Yes.
huge accomplishment.
Yes.
All right, Miriam.
I'm trying to think what's interesting about me. I feel like Maggie kind of summed it up. I'm like, what? I'm so boring now. Before having my son, I feel like I was super fun and everything. And now I'm just like, I'm a mom. Everything I do is mom, right? And I work and everything. But something that I think I'm very proud of is that I come from Honduras. So my culture, I think it plays a big part in my life. And although I came here when I was like 8 years old, I feel like my culture is so big. My family we have a very big family. And I think that's something interesting because a lot of people think, oh, maybe, you're from Mexico, or maybe you're Asian because of my eyes. But I'm always so proud to say, I'm from Honduras, soy catracha. And that's what we call our people, catrachos. And so, yeah, I think that's a big part of me that's interesting because a lot of people are curious to know, like, oh, how's Honduras? What is Honduras? Where's Honduras? So very proud of where I come from.
That's awesome.
Yeah. All right. I'll say I have so many things that I'm proud of. But I'll say this one. I'm very proud that I've completed 2 marathons in my life. Because that was really hard work for me. I think most of my proud moments are around athletics, which tells you a little bit about me. All right. So let's get started. It's a pleasure to know you all a little bit more. So Let's see. What behaviors do you expect to see when working with youth in foster care? So what are some of the issues that you are seeing with your children? I know you mentioned some of them, right? Like ditching school, substance abuse, anger. By the way, mindfulness is really great for anger, or to help soothe anger. But anyways, what else do you guys see, or do you think you would see?
Well, besides the yelling and the screaming,
Can you say like, could this be part of like a attention, that they do it for attention? Because the little girl, she we noticed that she does a lot of things like to get attention. You're in a group and she needs to be right there in that group in the middle, even if it's adults or something,
Yeah,
and interrupting, hey, look at this while you're talking, like
yeah.
she
That's
wants
what I can do.
the, yeah, yeah. So you're like, oh, okay,
Yeah.
I will say that part of it, but
Praising is going to be very helpful for children who are seeking attention. So we spend time praising them in the right areas. Maybe it will help decrease that attention seeking behavior, or even like sometimes kids that have trauma history, right, want any attention is good, even if it's bad attention, right? So this is going to be a great session for you guys. Thank you. Anything else? What do you think?
Lack of empathy. I wasn't expecting that, but now with more training, I do expect it. Not only is it because of maybe what they were exposed to while they were in the womb, but also, just growing up with parents that they felt like didn't care for them. They went ahead and put that wall up, to not have any empathy. So, and then also, most recently, I'm also having to walk around promiscuity, just being promiscuous, and as a way for attention seeking, but also because of sexual trauma, and the hormones at the same time. It's all just misguided and misdirected, and so I just have to also get some schooling on that, on how to protect and keep them safe, because it's a lot.
It is. Yeah. Thank you for sharing that. Yeah, like teaching again, I think this is going to be such a great session for you guys, because we're going to help model and guide what are the appropriate behaviors that you want to praise to reinforce those behaviors, right? That's really helpful. Thank you. All right. So the power of praise. So one is you want to use it frequently. They'll do something really small, like maybe they listen the first time you say it, and you let them know, I really appreciate that the first time I asked you to get dressed, you did it right away. I really appreciate that. Great work, right? You want to catch them as often as you can doing something favorable, right? I struggle with the word good, but either way, something favorable, something helpful. They're working hard, they're listening, they're trying to control themselves, trying to control their anger. Like you could see they're really upset, but they're trying to breathe. Those are great opportunities to praise. You want to be authentic, right? You don't want to praise something that doesn't really feel good to you, or doesn't make sense to you, or something like that. You want to be authentic. So find the little things to praise them for, and we'll talk a little bit more about that. Remember, it's a cost-effective reward, meaning that it gets you the results that you want. And it's hard sometimes if you're upset with a child, right? Which is normal, like it happens. Sometimes they engage in behaviors that we're like really annoyed, or we're upset or frustrated ourselves. But praising them for the things that you are catching them do well is going to be more helpful and effective and rewarding for you also as the parent. It helps youth develop self-esteem, and that's really important. There's all this great research about how self-esteem impacts other behavioral choices that they make. So if they have a healthy self-esteem, they're more likely to make choices that are helpful to them. And then the opposite's true. The lower the self-esteem, the more likely they are to engage in behaviors that are very harmful. Okay. Kids do notice, right? They notice, even if it seems like they don't. Like if you say, hey, I really appreciate that you shared your pencil with your brother, your sister. That was very kind. And they might say, and keep doing something. They did notice. It's just sometimes it's really difficult for children with trauma history, abuse history to receive it. They don't know how to receive it and say, thank you, that makes me feel good. Thank you for acknowledging me. So they're just processing, like, what do I do with that? Right? It's like when someone, this is typical for women. When someone says, you look very beautiful. I love that shirt. You're like, what do you say? Women tend to take it away from themselves and say, oh, I bought it from somewhere else. Or, oh, no, it's just I really tried hard today. No, you look great, right? Praise as soon as possible after the behavior occurs for maximum benefit. And be as detailed as you can, because if you praise way later, I mean, it's fine. You're better off praising than not praising. But if you do it right away, it's like they understand exactly what they did right. And if you're detailed in your praising, because you could say, that was great. It's praise, but it's vague. Because they're like, what was great, right? When I put my sweater on, or when I shared the pencil, like what was great, right? And they might struggle, who knows? So praise as soon after, as much as possible, and then be detailed. Use labeled praise. So that's what this chart is. So we'll go over that. Is there any questions so far? Or any comments you'd like to add? All right, so labeled praise versus unlabeled praise. What is it? Labeled praise identifies exactly what the youth did well. So can you guys think of some examples of labeled praise, like being very detailed when you're praising a child?
One that comes to mind is we were having trouble with shower times, running the water. And so I just said, hey, you guys, we've got to cut it down to 20 minutes. And I didn't get any pushback about it. And I was really worried that my now 15-year-old was gonna just have me banging on that door. And boy, would you know it, she came out before the even 20-minute mark came up. And I was just like all over her, like, oh my gosh, I didn't even have to yell at you. Like, kept going on and on. I was like, thank you, like you cut that water off. And she was like, yeah, I was just kind of like, she had mentioned that she was like kind of trailing off in her head about things. And I was like, and you still came out on time. Like, thank you so much. So that was cool.
Thank you.
Sorry if that was loud, guys.
No.
We have the same issue with our two little ones.
When they're washing their hands, or they just want to play with the water, you know. Yeah.
That's true.
Because they're, yeah.
So sometimes themselves say, oh, I didn't take long, mommy.
Yeah.
So they slip off every now and then, but they do realize they do comprehend what we're trying to tell them. So that's always
They
a good
show
one.
it.
Yeah, great examples. So unlabeled praise indicates that the child did something well, but it's not specific. And those are examples would be like, good job, well done, I like that. They're great praises, but they're so vague that the child doesn't understand what they did well, and they might misinterpret that they did something else well when you actually meant something else. So it's not clear on the behavior you're reinforcing, right? Trying to think of here's an example. The example is, I like the way you completed your homework before dinner. And the unlabeled or vague praise is, good job, nice work. The child might think, oh, maybe it's a good job that I finished fast or that I came quickly to dinner, right? It's not clear. So as often as you can, be very clear. And remember that effort is the best praise. Like, for example, if they did really well on a test and they got a high grade, it's best to praise the effort. For example, you must have worked really hard for this grade. Can you tell me what you did to study or prepare? Instead of saying, good job on that A, that B, that's so cool, because it's the end result of actually hard work, and hard work is what we want to reinforce. Okay, so when should you use labeled praise? When you want to increase a behavior that doesn't happen often. So maybe they don't always say please and thank you. If you really want to see that increase, every time they say please and thank you, say thank you for being really polite. You said please, and I appreciate that. You know, however you want to say that. Also, when you're working on establishing a new behavior, so let's say you want to reinforce that they wash their hands before dinner, or brush their teeth every night, or anything like that, that you praise that as often as possible until the behavior becomes normal, right? So it's not present, praise often, you'll see the behavior increase, and then once it's normal part of their everyday routine, you can still praise every once in a while to show that you're appreciative of their continued effort. Does that make sense? All right. Unlabeled praise, when to use it, when you notice routine behaviors that the youth has already mastered. So they've already made it part of their daily routine. You can use unlabeled praise, like, hey, good job, right? So you could be a little bit more vague. That's okay. When the child does something positive that they do frequently, again, it's part of their regular routine. Do you guys have examples of other types of praise that you can use? I want to share something with you really quick.
When I'm usually outside with them playing in the front yard, I tell them 5 minutes and we're going inside. At first they were like, I don't know if they didn't understand it or they were never told that before.
Yeah.
So it took a while. Now they understand it. Say, okay, 5 minutes are up, and they go running to the door. They already know. I say, hey, good job, you know. And is that something
Yeah,
different?
absolutely. Like reinforcing that consistency, and then
Yeah,
when they come, say, great work, you listen, you
yeah.
came in 5
You
minutes.
listen,
And you could even praise the effort again. Like, it must be really hard for you to put down the toys or stop playing and come when I'm asking, but I appreciate that you're listening to me. Something like that. Yeah. Here's do you all have this handout? It's the let me see what page is that. Let me go back. This is the TFTC manual for parents. If you don't have it, I'll send it to you. So no worries. As soon as we're done, I'll send it to you. Because in here, there's a lot of examples and graphs that you all can use. And this is the one that I wanted to share with you, because on page 18, there's additional examples of praise. 100 ways to praise a child. So you could see other words are: nothing can stop you, great discovery, you're a champion, you are responsible, you tried hard, you're a good friend, you're incredible, you made my day, you are a-okay, you're my buddy. Hugs, right? Like physical expressions of affection are also helpful. So you have to figure that out, because every child is unique, and again, their trauma history, you have to assess like how much physical affection can we display, figure out what's safe, right? You're special, way to go. So if you ever feel like, oh, I'm using the same praising words, here's a sheet to help you explore other ways to praise.
My mom gave me one of these the other day. I just wanted to mention, because my 15-year-old had signed up for Key Club, which is the junior version of Kiwanis Club, which my mom's a part of. And I was like, oh yeah, mom, she started this club. And my mom was like, oh my gosh, that's so cool. She goes, that made my day. Tell her, that made my day. And I thought it was a little abrupt that she's like, tell her, it made my day. And I was like, okay, I'll tell her. Like,
Yeah.
she's
like,
never
no,
met you,
call
but
me back.
okay. And look, right on brand. Way to go, mom.
Yeah, that's really sweet. Yeah, I mean, yeah, this does a lot for children, again, especially for children who maybe aren't used to being praised. or have low self-esteem, right? This goes a long way. And you'll see drastic changes in behaviors when children have higher self-esteem, when they feel appreciated. And it starts with praising. All right, so I'll make sure to send you this form. It's really lengthy. It has a lot of really good information. It'll cover all the 7 sessions, but this one's on page 18. All right, let me go back to the PowerPoint. Any questions so far or any thoughts you'd like to share on what we're talking about? All right, the power of incentives. So this is another way of saying like rewards. How do we then reward children for their good behavior? So think about incentives in your life. Some incentives are getting a paycheck, which is delayed gratification. You have to wait a few weeks before you get your paycheck, or earning a promotion. This could take months or years, right? Receiving praise from your boss, you know, especially if you have really great work ethic and you work really hard, you go above and beyond, and receiving that acknowledgement just motivates employees, right? Similarly for our children. Having your child tell you that the meal you made was wonderful. Isn't that the best? Because they're always like, you know, it's usually like, what is that? So when they're like, wow, this is so good, you're like, it just feels so good. So incentives not only make us feel good, they also increase the likelihood that we will do the behavior again in the future. Right? We're more likely to try just as hard, if not harder, the next time we're going to engage in that behavior. All right, so incentives. Use rewards daily to encourage positive behaviors. And we'll talk about what incentives can look like, because sometimes it's like, how do I reward daily, right? It could be things that are inexpensive. Frequent rewards are most effective initially, right? Like when you're trying to increase the presence of positive behaviors, rewarding them quickly and daily is more likely to reinforce that behavior, okay? Then you can taper off once the behavior is present and they've mastered it and it's part of their regular routine. But again, to enforce positive behaviors, we should use frequent rewards. Include youth in determining rewards, right? So ask them, hey, if you put away the dishes after dinner every day, or if you clean up your room, if you brush your teeth every night, whatever the reward is for you, I'm sorry, the behavior, you can say, what would a good reward be for you? And you can say, give me 3 things off your wish list. Let's talk about it. They could say a pony. So you're going to have a conversation, right? Because sure, a pony, but it'd probably be a stuffed animal pony, right? Or maybe they have to earn that at the end of the week if it's something that's you're gonna have to purchase. So determining the rewards, they could say, I would like to be able to watch TV for 30 extra minutes before I start homework, for example. Can you think of some simple, inexpensive rewards?
Like a candy or something. I don't know.
Yeah.
Candy, ice cream, playtime outside,
Good one.
because they like that. I mean, because we have little ones, you know, so
Yep.
they enjoy all that.
Going to the park,
Yeah.
like
Going to-
maybe, I don't know if every day or like another week, maybe we'll go to the
Uh-huh.
park for an hour. What else? Play some board games.
They like to color,
Play-Doh.
Play-Doh.
We spent hours doing that.
Yeah.
Yeah, a good one. Painting.
painting.
Yeah, there's so many rewards that are, again, like inexpensive, or like if you go to a certain store, the dollar toy section, you could do
Mhm.
that too if you're willing to spend some money. Really important aspect of incentives is you have to follow through. It's not helpful to say, I will give you this if you listen, if you comply, and then you don't follow through. It will decrease the desired behavior right away, because they're like, that's what you said last time. It happens very fast for kids, unfortunately, or fortunately. It helps hold us accountable. So if you say something, make sure you do it. In the same way, if you say, like, have you ever heard parents say, if you don't behave for Christmas, Santa isn't coming? But Santa always comes. So don't say things you're not going to do, right?
I wanted to mention, I think one thing that I'm struggling with is that it'll be the day that we're supposed to do the reward. We just found out that the ball was dropped and she skipped school, or she, like something bad happens right before we're supposed to go do our reward. And I'm so conflicted every stinking time, because it's like, what am I teaching you here? That you can mess up and still get your rewards? And it's so, but I know I need to stick with what I said. I have so much conflict in that area.
Oh, what a great example. So one thing is having a conversation, right? Having a conversation about, this is what we agreed upon. This was the reward for that behavior, and I want to follow through. And you can follow through because they accomplished the task beforehand. You can also have a conversation of like how you're going to address the current behavior. It is very difficult. Like, it's a difficult decision to have to figure out, how do I address this? But if you don't mind me asking, what was the conclusion of that?
We're still gonna get the reward. We were actually supposed to go today to get her some Crocs, and that was what the reward was. But on Friday, she was found drunk and high in the bathroom floor of her school, and her friends were terrified for her because they thought that she was not gonna wake up. And so now today we're still gonna go get those Crocs, but it's like Friday happened. Friday was traumatizing. So
Yeah, that is really hard. Well, make sure that you have a conversation about, like, I'm praising you for having complied with and earned this reward given, the past behavior.
mhm.
And then you'll have a conversation about what happened on Friday, and that'll be separate, right? But yeah, we still want to follow through for the hard work that they did engage in, and hopefully it'll motivate her again to align with the agreed upon goals.
Yeah.
It is hard. It is hard. You're right.
Yeah.
We don't want to always like take things away, because then that does not motivate them to want to change.
No, like, this is going to be taken away anyway, so what do I care? I don't want her to think like that.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Yeah, great example. Thank you. Any other examples or comments? All right, let's see. When possible, have incentives and rewards connect to the behavior being addressed. Let me see. Let me think of an example. If the child, let's say, cleans up their room, picks up toys or whatever is age appropriate, or does a really good deep cleaning of their room, you can say, okay, how about, as a reward, I'll help you clean up your room tomorrow, or you don't have to wash the dishes if they're older. I think someone mentioned this at some point, a chore free, like a get out of chores free ticket, something like that. So have the rewards and the behaviors connect. Does that make sense? As much as possible. The child might want something else, so if it motivates them to have a different reward, that's perfectly fine too. All right. Let's see. So brainstorming other incentives. We talked about going to the park, picking a movie night. Another incentive is a later bedtime. Let me share page 19 off of the manual because it could have other incentive options. So let me see, page 19. Okay. Okay, it's just a blank list. So let me show you. It's an incentive list, it's blank, but it's for you all to come up with other incentives that can be helpful. You can brainstorm them. Can you think of anything else you'd like to share?
I was gonna say maybe like being able to cook like by themselves. Like, of course, I'm gonna be monitoring. One of them, she loves getting in the kitchen and making her famous spaghetti. So, and instead of me kind of taking over the kitchen, I'll let her, you know, do that. Maybe I can have her do it more often.
That's a great one. Like, or they can, and if they're little, like for Martha and Pedro, you could say, you get to pick what we eat tonight for dinner, or you get to pick the dessert. So a good example, Maggie. Yeah. So if they're little, they pick it. If they're older and they want to get, they want to cook, that's great. What do you think, Miriam? What incentives do you have for your baby?
Definitely, my son loves spending time with his friends. So, you know, a little play date or something like that, or like a movie night at home, right, where I can monitor them, and it's a great incentive because they're looking forward to that, and he's actually working towards that. So yeah, just like be mindful of like the things that they like. That way, you know, you can use that as an incentive, and friends, and even I know technology too. Sometimes it's like, okay, you can have your phone like maybe 20 extra minutes today. So
Great example. Yeah, of technology. I forgot about that one.
Yes.
I would say one of the also really important key factors is that you're being clear with them. Like, this is what I'm rewarding you for. So that they're mindful and will try to engage in that behavior again. And then if you think of other examples for incentives, then when I send you the manual, write it down so that next time you could implement some of those rewards. All right, any questions about this? All right. Other ideas or fun activities, having a resource parent of approved friend over, like a play date, going to the mall or the park. Also having additional privileges, right? Like allowing for a higher level of responsibility, additional time for enjoyed activities, like Miriam was saying with the laptop or the phone, later bedtime on weekends, you know, if they've earned that. Control over certain activities. They pick the activity, or they are the like, for example, for Monopoly, if they're the banker, or they keep score, or whatever role they'd like to play. Special treats also is another very effective one. All right, so that was the rewards and incentives, and Miriam will begin talking about the check-ins for our children.
perfect. Thank you, Daisy. Okay, so our next topic is daily check-ins and building relationships. So one way to build trust, right, and relationship, and I'd say is it can start with a daily check-in, and always having a set time. And this can be very helpful and consistent, especially for children that have histories of trauma. So some of the principles that trauma informed like touches based on is increased safety, like predictability, transparency, and collaboration, and also empowerment. And these are the things that we want to to have in place for our children that have this history of trauma history. So establishing, like I mentioned, a predictable time, it says 5 to 10 minutes, but I honestly, check-ins can be 2 to 3 minutes, right? It just depends on just the conversation that's being that's had, like that you're having with the child, because if the child is younger, they might not want to engage, in like a 10-minute conversation. So, but if they're older, with time, it can increase to even more than 10 minutes. So I always say, have a time frame. It can be pretty fast, a quick check-in, or it can take, just depending on the topic, it can be longer. So there's a structure to the check-in. So first, we want to encourage or praise the child about something specific. Second, address a specific concern or goal. And then finally, end on a positive note by encouraging or praising the youth. So if we follow these three like quick steps, so first, encourage praise. So you start always with praise. Then second, you can either do concern or goal. And then at the end, we're ending with encouraging or praising again. Okay, so it's just kind of like a quick little structure. And then also we have a handout, page 20, which you can always refer back to. Daisy will pull it up right now. Perfect. So it kind of gives you like a little breakdown. This is something you can refer back to when you have, if you do have the manual already. If not, it's already there, so you can have it, right? Because I know the PowerPoints, you might not receive that, but you do have like this page 20 that kind of breaks it down for you. Okay, Daisy, we can go back to the next one.
We're going to get that sheet also in the packet. Okay.
Yes.
Thank you.
Yes. Perfect. So we're going to watch a quick video, and this is a quick video about a check-in. So I want you to just observe, listen to what the mom is doing, and just kind of keep in mind, maybe look out for, what she does in the beginning, in the middle, and then the end. Okay?
Hi, Gracie. Thanks for coming to color with me. Hey, baby, Dad told me this morning that you made breakfast for everybody. Yeah. Well, thank you so much for doing that. I had to start my morning early and I was running a little behind on some stuff, and you just stepped right in and were so helpful. Well, I really appreciate you doing that for our so kind. Can I talk to you for just a second? So yesterday I noticed that you and Leah were getting a little frustrated with one. Would you say that's maybe an accurate thing that happened? Yeah. Yeah. So, it's okay to feel frustrated. It's okay to feel that. What's not okay when we're frustrated is how loud your voice got with Leah, and the yelling at each other and not being very kind to one another. So can we maybe think of a way together that we could handle our frustration? We could talk about it. We could talk about it, that's right. And how might you use your words when you're frustrated?
Leah, you don't have to do it. I just wondered if you wanted to.
Oh, you got frustrated because you wanted her to do something and she didn't want to. And then your feelings got hurt because
She wouldn't do it.
she wouldn't. Okay. Well, I really like the way that you explained to her that you just want her to do it with you because you enjoyed spending time with her, but that you're giving her the understanding that she doesn't have to participate. That's very good. What would maybe something we could do if you tried that and it didn't work and you were still feeling really frustrated?
I can tell you about it.
Yeah, you could come get help from a grown-up. That's a great idea. So I'm proud of you for trying to use your words first. So today, could we try that if we're feeling frustrated to maybe take a deep breath and use our words?
Sure.
Can you show me how you might take a deep breath? And then you could say, yeah, I'm feeling frustrated right now. I need a minute. You could take a minute. All right. And then, if you need extra help, I'm always here to help you, right? All right. You did fantastic. Oh, I love when we color together. You're doing an excellent job. Hey, Gracie.
Yeah.
I'm really thankful for you. You're a big helper around your house. I couldn't do this without you. You're so kind and helpful. Would you be willing to help me with lunch today?
Sure.
Ooh, what do you think we should have?
I think we should have grilled cheeses.
Ooh, grilled cheese. I bet we could handle grilled cheese today. All right. Well, I'm going to let you get back to coloring. Thanks for letting me stop in and color with you. I hope you have a wonderful afternoon. Hey, I love you. I agree.
Okay, perfect. All right, so what do we think about the video? What did we hear, observe?
She followed
The
the
way she-
model. Oh, yeah.
She praised her. And she was specific of what she was praising her for and what she wanted her to accomplish, what was going on, what she did wrong, and then pretty much the steps 1, 2, 3.
And listening to her too.
Validating her, saying that, it's all right that she was frustrated, to get frustrated.
Mhm. Mhm.
Oh, I think she may have got stuck, or like the
Frozen.
Wi-Fi coming in and out. There she is. Miriam? There we go.
Yeah, Daisy, sorry.
That's
Yeah,
okay.
I live by the train track, so every time the train passes, the internet just is not good. But yes, I was able to hear some of your input, and yeah, she pretty much followed the 3 steps, right? And one of the things that I really like about this video is because she validates her daughter's feelings, right? She even like touches her. I don't know if you saw that when she like touches her, and like they have like a little eye contact at a very important point that she wanted to make. And so it's okay to feel that way. And they were doing the activity and it just kind of flowed nicely, right? And she praised her a lot. And one of the key things for me was the tone of voice that she used. Very friendly, right? And her daughter was very engaged. Well, still, she was drawing, coloring, but she was still engaged in a conversation and she was following through, right? Just the way she approached her. Perfect. Okay. So check-in and building relationships, activity 2D. So these are some tips. The first tip is be creative about the time and location. So for some children, they might be comfortable, like if you talk to them and you're looking at them, like you're keeping that eye contact. But some of them, they might feel uncomfortable. So sometimes it's okay to maybe pick a time where maybe you're dropping off at school and you're driving in the car and you're not necessarily looking at them, right? Because you're looking at the road. So sometimes that could be a very comfortable moment for them because they don't feel like, oh, this is a very serious conversation we're having right now, and they don't feel that stress. So it's a quick check-in. You're driving in the car or even like on a walk or maybe doing some other activities as like you're cooking or cleaning, right? But pick a time and a location and stick to that time. And then the next one is stick with it. So at times in the beginning, maybe your child might not be receptive to continue to start, you know, check-ins. And we're like, they might be like, why are we doing this, right? But eventually they'll get used to it. And so so just continue to stick with it, continue to try, right? Like I said, it doesn't have to be 5 to 10 minutes. It can literally be like 2 minutes or less. Stay consistent. Right? Make sure that you remember the structure. So praise, concern, goal, and then praise again. And once you remember that, you stay consistent, and eventually they'll get used to it, and they'll like checking in, and they'll be coming to you with things that they actually want to talk about during check-in. All right. And then the next one is listen for problems when they are small. So the good thing about daily check-ins is that you can catch things when, you know, they're small, because you're doing a daily check-in, you know, you're listening into little concerns that are going on, things that they're going through on the daily. And so this can reveal any problems, and it also allows you the opportunity to share, you know, any concerns that you've had throughout the day or in the past. All right. Do we have any questions so far? Maggie or Martha, Pedro? We're good? Okay. All right. So I wanted to maybe try it with maybe Daisy. We'll do like a quick one just to model it for you. So Daisy, would you be up to it?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So let's see. All right. Hi, Daisy.
Hi.
Hi. So I noticed that you haven't really needed my help recently getting up in the mornings. You know, you have been very responsible, setting your alarm and getting up, you know, and getting ready for school. You know, I just wanted to say how proud I am of you. And you know, have you noticed how easy and fast our routine has been lately, you know, in the mornings?
Yeah, I think it's like you're not getting upset with me because I'm doing it by myself and I'm faster, so I like it.
Yeah. No, good job. I'm so proud of you, you know. And, you know, I remember that this was one of your goals at some point. You know, you wanted to get up on time, get ready all by yourself. Do you think you've met your goal?
Um, well, yeah, I mean, I'm getting up and brushing my teeth. I'm taking longer to get dressed, but um maybe I could maybe have that ready the night before. I don't know.
Yeah, that's awesome. You know, and maybe that could be another goal we can set today, right? Like, it's always good to set little goals. So would you like to set that as a goal? Maybe have your clothes ready the night before. That way, when you get up in the morning, you're ready to go. What do you think?
I like that.
Perfect. Well, you know, I believe that you will accomplish all your goals because you're extremely driven. You're such a responsible person. And you know, I'm always here to remind you if you need a reminder, if you need any help. And but yeah, did I say how proud I am of you? I think I did, huh? Yeah, well, I'm so proud of you, Daisy. All right.
Thank you.
And you're welcome. All right, so that's it. That's a quick like little check-in, right? We're highlighting the goals, we're highlighting something great that they did. We're praising them, but we're also saying like, hey, I'm proud of you. And it doesn't have to be super long, just quick, right? Um, all right, perfect. And so we can always try this at home too. There's a form that you will see in your packet as well. I believe it's page 20. Well, it's the same one. Yeah. Yeah. So basically, you can set up a time and where. It just gives you the same information. It's the same page, right, Daisy? So we can always refer to that page just to guide us as well. Okay, perfect. All right, so the next topic is giving effective instructions. So effective instructions are one way to encourage positive behavior, to teach new behaviors. So by giving effective instructions, I believe that children know exactly, what we're asking of them. So let's see. So one way to encourage positive behaviors and new behaviors, I think as a resource parents, it's to remember to always give that effective instruction and direction so they know exactly what you're asking of them. So we're going to look at this quick example here. Let me see. Can I have a volunteer to read it for me?
I'll read it. Jill, a 14-year-old, is watching her favorite show on TV. During a commercial, her foster mother says, "When this show is over, please set the table for dinner." Jill says, "Okay," and finishes watching the program. When the show ends, she gets up and sets the table. Jill's mother thanks her for setting the table.
Thank you, Martha. Okay. So what did Jill's mother do well? What do you guys think that she did well when she gave this instruction to Jill?
You thank her for doing the table, setting the table.
Mm-hmm.
And the way she gave her the direction, since she
Right.
was already watching TV, she says when the show is done, instead of saying, "Okay, I need you to do it now. When your
Right.
show is over, can you please," and she used the word please, set the table.
Mhm. Right. Maggie?
And it looks like her thanks was specific. It wasn't just like, "Oh, thank you." It was, "Thank you for setting the table."
Right. Right. So yeah, you guys are all right. She communicated very effectively, and this could lead to, to the likelihood of like Jill doing the same thing over again, right? Like she's gonna comply, but just the way she did it. One thing that I noticed was that she did it during a commercial, right? So if she would have done it when Jill was it was focused on her show, maybe Jill would have like not listened because she's focused on the show. But during the commercial, she went up to her and asked her, please, set the table, and kind of gave a little time frame after the show, right? So that gave Jill the opportunity to say, okay, once I finish it, I'm gonna go and do it. And it was just like a very like nice way of saying it. It wasn't like, go do it right now, turn off the TV, right? There was no stress coming from the mother. So yeah, so we want to make sure that when we do give these effective instructions, that we're very clear, that we provide a time frame, and that we do it at a time when the child can focus on what we're saying. If not, it's like that they're not doing something, for example, like super fun, right? Because they're not gonna pay attention. They're focused on the fun part. So the next question is, what did she avoid?
Confrontation.
Yes, she avoided that. Yes. Yeah, so that's great. We always want to not avoid, we don't want to have a confrontation with them. And then also she avoided, I think personally, like maybe Jill just getting upset and like feeling like she's not respecting maybe that time when she's, because she's a 14-year-old, and 14-year-olds are always about like, this is my time, I'm doing my own thing, right? So yeah, just being mindful of that because of the age group, right? So when they're little, I think we can always go up to them. And I always say, get to their level, right? Because if we come in and we're taller than them, we're bigger than them, just get to their level if they're playing, and redirect them. So, hey, Jill, if she was like maybe like a 5-year-old, I would go up to her and just come to her and say, hey, once we're done watching TV, I always say once we are done, because I always involve myself, because I'm helping and I'm creating these skills, right? So we're always helping when they're younger, I always include we, like, okay, we are going to clean up today, right? Cleanup time. And so they pay attention when we say we, because it's collaborative, and they're not doing it alone, because we want to, when they're little, we want to guide them through each little step. And eventually you don't have to use we. You can say, oh, Jill, okay, it's time to clean up. What do we do when we clean up? And then they're like, oh, okay. And they'll do it on their own. So this is a great example. I know it's for a 14-year-old, but it can also be applied to a younger child as well. All right, Daisy, could you do the next one? Perfect. All right, so giving effective instructions, the do's, and then the next slide is going to be the don'ts. So the do's is make sure the child has full attention. So very important. They're not on their phone, right? And they're texting a friend and you're trying to tell them to do something, to say, hey, when you're done sending that text, can I have, a minute of your time? Like, okay, let me just send it real. Make sure you are clear and specific. Were you able to hear me, Daisy?
It cut out briefly.
Okay.
But do you guys have any questions about the first one, about making sure the child has full attention? Okay.
So make sure that the instructions are clear and specific, right? So we're saying exactly what we want the child to do. Make sure you stay calm. I know sometimes we are stressed and it can be, a lot of stuff are going on. So just try to stay calm. Reinforce the positives and give a consequence for not minding. Remember, we're trying to always see the positive if they're doing something good. There could always be consequences too, but I think that when we're asking them to do something, I think you have to wait a little bit. If they don't do it, then there could be a consequence after that, right? And that can go back to maybe what we just learned with Daisy, which would be making sure that we have like the incentives in hand, right? Because we can always refer back to the incentives. All right, and then give 1 or 2 simple tasks at a time. This is very important because we don't want to give so many that can overwhelm the child. We just want to give 1 or 2. Once they're done with those 2 or that one task, then we go on to maybe two more, just depending, right? If like it just depends on the age as well, because if they're little, maybe 1 task is good. If they're older, I think 2 tasks at a time is fine, or probably even more, but it just depends on the age. All right, Daisy, we can go to the next one. So the don'ts. So give instructions when the child is already fully engaged in another activity. So yes, so they're not, that would mean that they are not engaged, they're not fully present. So this would not lead to them doing what you're asking them to do. And then repeat the request over and over. This only reinforces non-compliance. So if we're just saying it over like, hey, I need you to do this, and then they don't do it, I need you to do this. And we're not having a conversation of like, hey, I did tell you to do this. What's going on? Do you need more time doing, maybe finishing up the activity? Right? So we're not repeating ourselves over and over again, because then they're going to be like, oh, they're nagging me, right? They don't like that. So repeating over and over is not helpful. So always go back to having the conversation, having them fully engaged. And then let's see, say it unless you mean it. So sometimes we say like, I think we're like, okay, I'm gonna take that phone away from you, and you don't take it away, right? So it's like, you're saying it, but you're not really meaning it. So you have to follow through with the consequences of like the behavior of them not fully finishing the task or not doing the task at all. So if there's a consequence that you have in place, you have to follow through. So you have to say it and, you know, mean it. And then over explain or talk too much. I don't know if you guys remember, but I remember when I was younger, my mom would say, oh, in my time, and she would start explaining like, if I were to talk back, this would happen, right? And it was like, oh, a whole lecture about what was going on and, you know, how she grew up. And I was like, I don't want to hear that. So she was over explaining and just like talking way too much. I don't know if you guys can relate to that, you know, our parents talking, giving us a whole lecture why we didn't do something. So, you know, we want to try to avoid that. Perfect. And then ask questions. It says avoid, don't you think, or let's. So when we're giving an instruction, it's really not a question of whether they're going to do it or not. It's, you know, we're not asking them to, hey, are you going to do it? It's no, hey, could you please do this? But it's not really a question because we're asking them to do, you know, a specific task, and it's not for, they can question it like, oh, why do I have to do that? You know, you can always answer the question like, oh, well, because we need to have our house clean, right? If we're cleaning our house, we want to live in a clean home, so I'm going to need your help to help around the house, you know. And you can give them options like, would you like to do this chore or that chore, right? Or, hey, let's come up with a chore list, chores that you would like to help in, right? Involvement. But those can be questions that they can have and questions that you can ask. But at the end of the day, the task is not in question. Like they're doing it because you set the task and you're giving them that effective, you know, that clear communication. Perfect. All right, the next one. Okay, so name that instruction. So for this activity, what we'll do, if Daisy, you can pull it up, we'll quickly go through maybe 2 or 3, and we'll say if they're effective or ineffective.
Okay, let me find it. What page was it? Let me 55. That's why.
There, I think it was up there or there. Okay. So let's see, the first one, let's see, it says, Makai, after lunch, you need to clean up the dishes, take out the trash, and go sweep the living room. Do we think that this instruction is effective or ineffective?
I don't think you could hear her, but Martha said ineffective.
Ineffective.
Ineffective. Okay. Why do you think it's ineffective?
Because once you're giving them too many things to do,
Mm-hmm.
And
Perfect.
and they might not know exactly what to do.
Right.
and then the way
Yes.
and then probably the words. Probably be
wording.
careful the wording that you're using. After lunch, you need to, instead of maybe saying, can you, you know, help me out and clean up the dishes, you know, and then go from there, you know.
Right. Good. Yeah, perfect. So yeah, keep it short, right? We don't want to give too many tasks you know, in one I would say in one spew. Like we want to do one at a time. And then once they're finished with that task, we can do like, oh, thank you so much for helping. You did such a great job with, you know, cleaning up the dishes. You know, would you be able to help me with the trash? You know, just take out the trash and you're done, right? So being clear, but also not overwhelming them with so many tasks. I think you guys were right on point with that one. All right, number 2, let's go clean the mess you made. Effective or ineffective?
Effective?
Sorry, Martha, I couldn't hear.
Effective?
Effective. Maggie, what do you think?
It should be effective, but I feel like, I don't know, something rubs me wrong with the part where it says the mess you made. I don't know that that's relevant. I think we all want to live in a clean environment, so we should just be picking up, we should be picking up after ourselves, but I don't know, this one's tricking me.
Right. How can we word it differently? What do you think?
Probably say, hey, let's go, I'll go help you. Let's go clean up pick up the toys or
Mhm.
whatever the mess is. Maybe use the words with the mess.
Yeah.
Like if
Mhm.
it's trash or like if it's toys or like if it's use that word instead of using mess.
Yes, because
Yeah.
I did notice that with my 15-year-old, what I consider a mess is not considered a mess in her
No,
life.
yeah.
So to being
Yeah.
specific, yes.
Let's go clean up the toys.
Yes.
Let's
that's
go
it.
pick up the toys, or something like that. Yeah.
Yeah, because ours will use the word like, well, we're still playing with it.
Yeah.
And it's 10 o'clock in the morning. But then it's 5 o'clock in the morning and the toys are still on the floor, but we're still playing with it.
Right. Yeah. So yeah, the words that we use, can make a big impact in the way that they'll follow through. So let's go clean the mess you made. It can be said maybe, hey, we want to keep the house clean. Would you mind helping me clean the mess? You can still say mess, but just like you made, unless, you can say if they're little, could be like, hey, let's clean up the mess we made, right? Because we all make messes and it's okay. So including the we or just saying, hey, let's keep our house clean. So, want to help me clean up? And that's it, right? So not make it so we're like accusing them, right? So they can feel like, oh, I made a big mess, and or you're like just pointing out the negative stuff. I made a mess. So okay, we'll do one more. Okay, let me see.
Can we please do number 5?
Number 5? Okay, yeah. All right, so Jade, it says Jaden. Jaden, you need to get out of bed. When I was your age, I got myself up. I won't always be here to help you. You need to get yourself out of bed. Effective or ineffective?
Ineffective.
Ineffective.
Ineffective,
Ineffective.
right? We're lecturing, right?
Yeah, you're lecturing more than trying to explain to them when, to get off. It says you need to get out. Oh, you need to get out. That's a tough one. Well, they're probably.
I won't always be there to help you.
Well,
Mhm.
I think it's just a lot of wording, a lot you're saying, but also you gotta be, it depends the reason that you're asking them to get out of the bed. Is it because they're going to school? Is it because, you're gonna go to church or whatever, right? Whatever the reason, you have a meeting, you have a party to go to. So probably say, hey, let's get out of bed right now. We need to go to school. We're gonna have to get ready to go to school, so we could get there on time and have a good day or something, instead of just when I trying to explain when I was young, they made me get out of the bed. Yeah, because yeah.
Right. No, you're right, Pedro. Mhm. Were you gonna say something, Maggie?
Yeah, I was just gonna kind of do like a little role playing with that, because then after that expression, it's just like, well, I can be late. I can be late a few minutes. And what was catching me was like, okay, you can be late, but I cannot be late for work. And that's how I found myself going into this long conversation, like you could be late, but I can't be late. You cannot be selfish. I need to get to work, like get going. So
Yeah.
I just wanted to figure what part of that paragraph we need to remove and what we need to replace it with.
Right. Right. So yeah, just removing, the lecturing part, like my, back when I was your age, or, I will always be here to help you. You want to remove that, and you need to get yourself out of bed. Letting them know why, right? We want to get out early, we want to leave early, be mindful not only about maybe their time, but also your time. So just rewording it in a way that's that they're listening and they're understanding, they're more receptive to it in a way, because in the morning, just imagine you're tired, you're sleepy, and you don't want to get out of bed, and you're being lectured, and you're like, man, I don't want to hear this. So it's just not, it's a recipe for chaos. So we want to make sure we remember, like, we're the way we're saying it, like Pedro mentioned, we are hey, we got to go to school, we got to get there on time, let's get out of bed, put some music on, make it fun. I always would make it very fun with my son in the morning when he was little, like just put music, we're getting up in the morning. I would say, do you want pancakes? Do you want cereal? So they're looking forward to something, and we're like moving, we're having fun. And then for the older ones, it's like, hey, like, let's get up early, let's grab some Starbucks, or let's make, a quick breakfast. What's your favorite? Their favorite, something that they're looking forward to, because we all get in that routine. It's like every day the same thing, right? So when I get out of that routine, put some music, dance, I don't know, just wake up, or, something like that. I think it could be helpful. Those are quick little tips as well.
If I can add also that what helps, I also have a little one, and the night before we'll do some prep, right? So like putting the clothes away, reminding her, hey, I'm gonna wake you up early. Like, do you want to take a shower in the morning or right now at night to make it more quick? So you could do prep work the night before. And then you could even do praise in the morning. Like if you're trying to get them up and they're not really listening, you can praise and say, when you listen to what I'm saying, when you comply right away, I really appreciate that. They're not complying in that moment, but you're saying, when you do, I appreciate that. There's a form of like indirect praise, and hopefully that'll motivate her. And if she does get up right away, you could praise that. I really appreciate that in this moment, you're choosing to get up. I know that's not easy, right? So finding those little places where you can praise.
Right. Thank you, Daisy. You're right. Yeah, we're always trying to find those little moments to praise them. So perfect. Okay, so the next topic is house rules. So this is another great and very important strategy for managing, I would say, the child or adolescent behavior. Pretty much it helps you as the resource parent make sure that there are working set of house rules in place. So house rules helps us and helps you and the youth, right, learn that certain behaviors are acceptable and some are not. And when we create these house rules, and I think honestly, this is my favorite part about the TFC training, because this really could be like a very foundational piece when, like for example, for you, Pedro and Martha, that you guys like mentioned in the beginning, you guys started, and this is the first time having, your kiddos. So this is a great, I would say, foundational piece. And even Maggie too, I think we've talked about this too, house rules. So, today, this is something that maybe in the future with one of our staff members, you guys can be guided as well. But this is a great start to set those house rules and have them in place, because it will help your house run smoothly. Okay. So they allow you to define clearly what's unacceptable behavior, like hitting, cursing, and also required behaviors or expectations, such as like homework time or cleaning your room, right? So, so it says here, creating house rules for youth and care can be extremely beneficial. So the first question is, how do house rules help youth who have experienced trauma? Why do you think house rules helps youth who have a trauma history?
I think rules remind you that you're cared for. I know that living a life with no rules, you kind of just feel like, oh, nobody cares about me. No, nothing I do matters. So kind of being given those rules and those guidelines and those boundaries is kind of just like, oh, what's going on in my life? It does matter. And and my actions do matter, and someone does care that I'm doing something right, not that I'm just, a stray animal, you know what I mean? Like someone's caring for me, and my actions matter.
Right. Yeah, it creates like a safe environment for them, something that they might never they never experienced in the past, maybe. It helps them feel as part of like an individual in a family unit, right? Because maybe they before in the past they didn't feel like that. And it helps them feel secure in their own home, in their environment, with you in your home. Um so this is something to keep in mind, because we have to understand how trauma works, and how it can play out, once they come to your home. And you're like, you might feel like, oh wow, like this child has all these behavior problems, but we have to know that they've gone through a lot. And so now it's like we have to set like an environment where they feel secure, where they feel safe, where they feel that they are part of your family, that they're part of the family. So some of the guidelines to keep in mind and when creating house rules is involve youth in creating the house rules, right? Very important, involving them when you're creating the house rules. Even if they're little, you can still talk to them and kind of bring it down to their level, to their language, right? Be clear, be specific, and then also keep the list short. It doesn't always have to be long. And sometimes we think like, oh, it has to be really long, but long is not always better. We want to keep it short. We can always add or take away, right? We can always add rules or remove rules. So always review the rules frequently. And very important, I think is the most important, post the rules in a very, very visible place. So this can be like in the living room, in the kitchen, somewhere that they can see it. You can refer back to it. And it's not just like another poster, another paper just there, right? We always refer back to the rules. All right. Next one, Daisy. Okay. So the house rules. So when establishing house rules, consider. So these are 4 different things that I feel that we must consider when we create the house rules. First is physical interaction. So ensure physical safety. I think that's number 1, safety. The next one is privacy. So we're ensuring the level of privacy that is comfortable for everyone. Okay. So let's say an example could be maybe, because if they're younger, right, they have their own room. Maybe saying like let me see, I'm trying to think about an example. Do you guys have an example? Maybe privacy
About knocking on the doors before entering them.
Right now they're in the habit of just opening the doors and coming in. So we're trying to let them know like, hey, you need a knock before entering any room. Same as with the restroom, make sure you knock. Don't just open the door. We need to make sure that we knock.
right.
Because they're getting into the habit of just wanting to open the doors without asking permission. So like my parents and my grandmother live here. So they want to spend a lot of time with them. But we're trying to implement them to where they understand like, hey, you need to ask us to see if it's okay to go with grandma and grandpa, because they call them grandma and grandpa. Because they might be sleeping or they might be busy. So, we have to check. You have to check with us first before you can go. So they do it. Sometimes they forget. But we can say it's kind of working right now. The knocking on the doors on the rooms, that's where we're struggling a little bit more right now.
Right. Yeah. Thank you for sharing, Martha. That's a great example of privacy, that's comfortable for everyone. And you're setting already some rules, which is great, and they're little, so they will forget. And as long as you keep reminding them and just, maybe even you can write them out, you can show them, and remind them by showing them visually and then also verbally, right? But those are great rules to follow. The next one is food. ensure everyone is clear about what's expected. So for example, instead of saying like no food in the bedrooms, maybe say, we eat in the kitchen. All food is eaten in the kitchen, right? So we're seeing it in a more positive light, because they're gonna be like no food in the bedroom, and if they come from a home where there was a lot of food insecurity and there was no food, and they just food can be a comfort thing for them, right? They want to keep it in the room because they're like, I want food and it makes me feel safe, because they maybe didn't have it before. It could be kind of a trigger to past trauma. So then just being clear in a more positive way, like, oh, okay, there's all this food is here, this is where the snacks are at, these are available. They can always ask. And then also having that, okay, we eat dinner at this time, and we're having dinner in this in the dining room together. So little different sets of rules, so they understand what's expected, and it can bring them some type of safety, comfort as well. And the last one is household routines. So ensure that the household runs smoothly. So this is also important, because we want to, from when they're like 4 or 5, we want to start setting those household routines so your house can run smoothly. And also you can have like, little chores for them, something that they can do to feel included, that they're being part of and helping around the house, right? Like picking up toys, maybe helping out, even in the kitchen, like making something together, right? They're being monitored, you're doing something with them, so including them. And as for Maggie, I know like the older ones, having that household routine, maybe on the weekends we're cleaning, right? I remember growing up and blasting like cumbias and Spanish music, and we're over here dancing, and we are cleaning because that's what we did on Saturdays. And then Sundays was like, hey, we're gonna go to church in the morning, we're gonna have breakfast, and there's a routine. So once you find that routine that works for you, stick to it, because kids love routine and they get so used to it, and eventually they're like, oh, today's Saturday, it's cleaning time. Once you put that music, they already know it's cleaning time. So all right, perfect. All right, so we're gonna watch a quick video, and then we're gonna just talk about it, discuss, and any comments that you guys have. It's not playing, Daisy. No?
Can you not hear it?
No.
Oh, okay. Sorry. I don't see anything on my end,
No.
but I can hear it.
Oh, okay.
No, we can't see it or hear it.
You can't hear it still?
No,
No.
we don't see it or hear it.
Even if they aren't spoken. Clearly defined house rules.
Do you hear that,
I hear it. We can hear it, but we can't see it.
And safety.
I can't see it either. I don't think you're supposed to. So we'll
okay.
hear it and then maybe process. I don't know. I don't know why it's not showing, but the words are still important.
Okay.
Every home has basic rules, even if they aren't spoken. Clearly defined house rules help to set limits on behavior, personal space, and safety. Clear rules also make most children feel freer to be themselves. So it's important to tell kids about house rules in a way that they can understand them.
So there's your new room.
This is when, yeah, we should be able to see it. And I don't know why it's not.
How about if I give you some time to get situated and then I'll come back and give you the tour?
Okay. I'll just describe it really quick. So a new child is coming into the home, and the foster parent guides the child into their room, lets them know like this is your space, get situated, and I'll be right back to give you the tour. And then so you're going to hear the tour. I'm sorry you can't see it. I don't know why it's not playing.
Yes. Terry, can I come in?
Sure.
You ready for a tour?
Okay.
Great. Well, as you already know, this is your room, your own personal space. You can arrange it any way you like. If your door is closed, Tony and I will always knock before we come in, unless we think it's absolutely necessary to enter without knocking. If you have friends in here with you, you need to make sure that door stays open, okay?
Okay.
All right, on to the rest of the tour. This is our room. You need permission to enter our room. The door is shut. Please knock and wait to be invited in. That's pretty much the case for all the rooms in the house, including yours. The door is closed, knock, wait to be asked inside. That's especially true for the bathroom. I'm sure you agree. This is Angela's room.
Come in.
Angela, do you have a minute?
Yeah.
Great. I want to introduce you to Terry. She just arrived. Terry, this is Angela. Angela, Terry.
What's up? Hey.
You two can talk later. I'm going to give her a house tour.
Okay.
All right.
Bye. Later.
Okay, the bathroom's across the hall, and these go back downstairs.
Okay.
This, of course, is the living room. It's a great place to hang out with your friends, which, remember, you can only have over if Tony or I are home. We have a curfew of 9 p.m. on nights before school and 10 p.m. on Friday and Saturday. Okay?
Sure.
All right, let's go. Let's see, what else? Oh, if there's an emergency, there's the phone to dial 911. There's also a list of numbers underneath, including my work number and Tony's work number. So if you ever have any questions and we're not home, you can go ahead and call us at work.
Okay.
There's a lot of things that need to be done to keep the house up. And so that's one of the house rules. Everyone needs to do her chores. Angela does the dishes twice a week. Tony mows the lawn, and I do all the cooking along with a lot of other things. So we can talk about your chores later. Okay.
All right.
This is where we keep the house rules, so you don't have to remember everything I just said.
All right.
The most important one is here at the bottom. If there's something you don't know, don't try and guess. Just go ahead and ask us. There's no such thing as a stupid question, and we are here to help you. I know there's a lot of differences from where you last lived, but we want you to feel comfortable here. So if you have a question, just ask, okay?
I will.
Okay. Do you have any questions?
What will my chores be?
Well, what do you like to do?
Well, I like to cook. I could help you do some cooking.
That would be great. Let's talk about what you like to cook.
Okay. Perfect. Thank you, Daisy. Okay. I know we weren't able to see it, but just by hearing it, what did the mother do well?
I think she was pretty specific of the rules for the kids from the beginning, and then the fact that she took her and did a tour of the house.
Good. Yeah, she did that really well, right? She walked her through, she introduced her to another child that was already in the home, right? So, and then she said, I'll let you guys talk later. So that was good. What else? Maggie, what do you think she did well?
She made sure to take the time to specify that the rules and boundaries apply to her as well, even as a newcomer, that this isn't just for, I don't know if the child that was in the home was another foster child or a bio child, but regardless, she let her know that, you know, we're all abiding. This goes for all of us. And she said, and for you too, like for the door thing. She's like, it's for you too. We're not going to just, not only can you not barge into our rooms, but we're not going to barge into your room, you know? And I thought that was a nice distinction right out the gate.
And also, she has the rules posted somewhere, and she explained also, like, if she has any questions, that she used those words, that is, there's no stupid question, to ask her the questions, whatever she had in mind. And I think that makes the kid feel like you're more approachable, you know, and if they have questions, they could feel free and ask. So I think a lot of that was very well planned out, the way that lady did it,
Right.
to welcome the
Daisy?
kid.
Yeah, you're right. Thank you, Pedro. Daisy?
Giving her time to settle in and letting her know, like, this is your space and you get to do what you want with the space. I thought that was a great sense of like empowerment for her being in a new place.
Right. Yeah, I got a sense too of like the mother wanting her to feel comfortable, right? You know, welcomed, and just giving her the tour, and not just like having her come into her room and not, you know, maybe if it played out different where she didn't really do the house tour, she could have been uneasy, like what to do, what to, you know, to stay in her room, or, you know, she wouldn't have felt comfortable. So she didn't make her feel comfortable. And the next question is, what could the mother have done differently? What could she have done differently?
Maybe save the introduction for the end. So that way, when she was done with the tour, the introduction to the other child for the end. So that way, when she was done with the tour, she could not drop her off there, but be like, oh, if you want to take this time to get to know her, there you go. And I'm out of your guys' hair, you know?
Mm-hmm.
That could have been.
Or also, one, I mean, everything was very well. I think another thing that probably she could have added to make it even better would be, like, while she's explaining everything, every little, like, in this room, do you have any questions? And then go to the next room. Do you have any, after she explains it, do you have any questions? And then when you go to the other room, do you know, at the end, do you have, maybe that could have been added, and maybe she did have questions right there and then, and, you know, maybe that.
Right. Okay, good. Yeah. Daisy?
I like both, actually. They're both really good, like asking her for questions, having her check in with the child, because it seemed abrupt, right? Like, here's so and so, okay, but say bye. Hi, bye. I don't know. I think I like those.
Yeah. I think for me, I think I would maybe at the end she would have been like, you know, these are rules that we set for our home, you know, obviously before she came, but she could have said something like, you know, if you wanna add a rule, or, you know, we can discuss the rules a little bit more in the future if there's something that, you know, you don't agree. Why? Because it wouldn't involve her in the rule making, right? That's another thing. We want to involve them, even if they're new to the home, they're coming in. We want to involve them as well. So be open to modifying the rules a little bit, right? Because we want to make sure that they feel that they're part, that they're not just coming in and like, oh wow, there's all these rules, you know, like you want to make sure they're part of the rule making. So that's the only thing that I thought about at the end too.
So
Okay.
would you say, I'm sorry, I just wanted to piggyback off of that. So would you say maybe saying something, because I feel like I've caught myself saying a lot in the beginning, like, and this could always change, and this could always change. And I felt like that made me look weaker as a rule enforcer. So is there like a better approach or a better way to word that? Or do you think that was okay, and my perception of that making me a weaker rule enforcer is not right?
I wouldn't necessarily say that it makes you weaker, Maggie, but I do think that that you being open, you know, is a good thing, because it can be like an open dialogue with, with the child, because they're like, okay, she's open to changing the rules. She is flexible, and it's not an authoritarian, like, this is how it's going to be. This is my house and these are my rules, and that doesn't give space for that dialogue. So it's okay to be open. But once the rules are established, we want to make sure that we follow through, right? Because we've included them. They've in a way, I feel like they agree to the rules, right? And one of in one of the manuals, the activities, there is like the house rules, and it lists that you can actually list them, and at the end they sign it. So it's great that they can sign, because this is like, hey, I'm agreeing to these rules, right, as a family. And I always frame it like a family unit, because at the end of the day, that's what you're becoming when you're bringing a child in. They're becoming part of your family. They are your family once they're coming in, right? We want to treat them as such. So having that open dialogue and keeping it open is great, and you being flexible is great. But obviously, if those rules are not being enforced or they're breaking the rules, then yeah, I think the flexibility kind of goes out the window, right? Because we're setting the rules to keep them safe. We're setting the rules to keep them safe, and to also for everyone else to be comfortable as well. So yeah.
Thank you.
Any other questions? You're welcome, Maggie.
If I
Any
can-
other questions?
If I can add, Maggie, if you feel like if you feel more passive, maybe you can add a simple line like, with your input, these rules can change.
Okay.
That
Mhm.
simple, like, little line,
Mhm.
it's making it clearer
Yeah.
that you can influence this home.
Not that I'm being wishy-washy, you
Right.
know? Okay,
Mhm.
yeah, I like that. I like that. Thank you.
I like that too. Thank you, Daisy. Okay, perfect. So the next bullet point is taking a moment to reflect on your house rules, that you already have in place. And the following are questions for guidance. And these questions, we don't necessarily have to go over them today, but I do think that it's a great way to start, questions that you can think, reflect upon. And even when I come in as a mental health clinician, I can always coach. And these are questions that I always bring up, and I will have in hand with me. And I can ask, like, are the rules and expectations specific and clear? The ones that you've already set. So if I were to come in and coach, for example, Maggie, right? And I'm coming in, I will come in with my, with all the paperwork that you will also be provided, right? The activities, the forms, the extra forms. And I come in, I can always ask these questions, and you can always think about these questions beforehand. Like, are there too few or too many rules and expectations in place presently? So things that, do you think that there's way too many rules? Should we shorten the rules? Or is there too little bit? Maybe there's like only 2 or 3 rules. Do we need to add more? Another very important question is, are the expectations age appropriate, right? Since we might have different age groups in our home, we want to make sure that are they age appropriate, because it cannot always be applied to for example, a rule with a 5-year-old compared to like a 15-year-old. So are they age appropriate? Are the rules and expectations written down, posted in a prominent place? Very important. So are they like maybe in the kitchen, somewhere visible, right? We don't want to put them in like in a closet, or somewhere where really no one goes, or no one is passing around. Like, there is just not a place where we all meet. So maybe the hallway, we're always passing through the hallway, so maybe the hallway or the living room. And then, are the house rules reviewed and revised periodically or as needed? So this is something also very important, because in the beginning we might have a set of rules, but then over time we realize that maybe we need to change 1 or 2 or revise them or add to it. So it's okay to do that as we go. So these are just questions to keep in mind as we're creating those house rules. And these are questions that I would probably bring in the future too when I do like the coaching, so we can talk about what's already in place, what has worked, what hasn't worked, and what needs to be changed. Okay, so the next one is house rules and daily check-ins. So these are just like the page numbers or where we can find them. So this is the page that I was talking about. Pretty much is, you know, kind of 1 through 8. You can do the house rules, you can write them out. And then at the end it says, I have read and discussed the house rules, and this says family signatures. And that's great because that's where everyone signs. You know, as a family, we are all agreeing to these rules. Even if they're little, they can, you know, hey, let's do your signature. Why? Because they're like, okay, we came up with these rules together as a family. So this is a great little form, but we can also do like a poster. I always advise like a poster. We write out everything. We can put stickers on it. We can make it beautiful, bright, and just like, you know, that's the family rules, the house rules. So the next one. Perfect. All right, so our summary and wrap up, it looks like we're all done, but what did we learn today? So with Daisy, we went over the power of praise, the power of incentives. With me, you went over building relationships by having a daily check-in, giving effective instructions, and developing effective house rules. So those are the main points and the main takeaways. And for the review activity, I went ahead and looked at the review activity, and I actually wanted to just ask one last question. And this question is, what is your takeaway from session 2? Before we end, what would be your takeaway from everything that we learned today?
I think with me would be the daily check-in. And then since they are 3 and 4-year-olds, is the way we give instructions.
Thank you.
We can't sit there because we can't sit there and give them a whole sentence because they're not going to understand. So we have to really keep it really, really short to just a couple of words. That I think that's our challenging part right now. Yeah, that's
even the power of incentives is good because they're little kids. So for them to like Daisy was saying, to have them remember, you keep repeating it and then they're gonna look for an incentive, whatever it is, and they're gonna, you know, keep using it. You know, so that's a good one. I mean, they're all good. It's a good training for us. Yeah.
Perfect. Thank you. Thank you for sharing.
I would say I noticed a common theme was dialogue. Like none of this works if you don't back it up with some dialogue and just really being, you know, present and one-on-one with, you know, the child. So, you know, praising and incentives, the check-ins, you know, even the house rules, it's, you know, unless you back it up with, you know, breaking down why and you know, what the goal is in pursuing each one of these things, it doesn't work.
Well said.
Right. Well said.
Yeah, the power of communication. All right, let me, 1 second. Where is it?